Far beyond the bright stars of the central galaxy, there was a dark region of space where very few ships traveled. The place was known among many alien civilizations as the Silent Border. Long ago, this region belonged to humanity. Thousands of human colonies once lived there. Their ships once filled the stars with light and movement. But all of that ended 30,000 years ago. No one knew exactly what happened to the humans. Some believed they destroyed themselves in a terrible war. Some believed they left the galaxy. Others believed they were wiped out by something far worse. But one thing was certain, for 30,000 years, no signal ever came from human space again. Because of this, the alien civilizations slowly moved into the empty regions humans once controlled. New empires rose, new trade routes formed, and with time the memory of humanity slowly turned into nothing more than an old legend told in history halls. Many young pilots did not even believe humans were real. On a quiet patrol route near the old human border, a Vilcar exploration cruiser moved slowly through the darkness. The ship was called the Silent Horizon. It was a long silver vessel built for scanning ancient systems and watching for pirate activity. Inside the command deck, Captain Eris Towel stood near the main window, watching the stars. She was an experienced officer who had spent many cycles exploring forgotten regions of the galaxy. The Silent Border was not dangerous, but it was known for strange signals and old human ruins. Behind her, several officers quietly worked at their stations. Officer Cal monitored the deep space scanners. Another officer studied ancient human star maps that were thousands of years old. Everything was calm, too calm. The stars outside the window were motionless and endless. Then suddenly the silence broke. A sharp alert echoed through the bridge. Officer Kale turned quickly toward his console. Captain Eris looked back at him. "Report." Kale stared at the screen with confusion. "Captain, we are receiving a signal." Eris frowned. From where Kale zoomed the scanner display. "The signal is coming from deep space ahead of us, near the old human sector." Eris folded her arms. "That region has been dead for thousands of years." Kale nodded slowly. "Yes, Captain, but the signal pattern is strange." "What kind of signal?" Kale hesitated for a moment. "Human, Captain." The bridge suddenly went quiet. Every officer turned toward Kyle. Human signals had not been heard for 30,000 years. Eris stepped closer to the scanner screen. Showed a series of ancient coded pulses appeared across the display. Old military encryption symbols slowly translated across the computer system. The ship computer struggled to read the ancient language, but eventually it produced a partial translation. Automated distress beacon. Human Navy identification code, ship status unknown. Eris felt a strange chill run through her body. That code was ancient beyond belief. It belonged to a fleet that disappeared before most modern civilizations even existed. "How old is the signal?" she asked Cal. Checked the time markers. Older than 30,000 years. Captain, the distress beacon had been repeating through space for longer than any ship should have survived. Eris looked back at the dark stars outside. "Increase scan range." She ordered. Kale adjusted the sensors. Long-range scanners pushed deeper into the darkness ahead. For a moment, nothing appeared. Just empty, cold space. Then the sensors detected something massive. Kale leaned forward in shock. "Captain, we are detecting a large object distance. 8 million kilometers, enclosing slowly." Eris narrowed her eyes. "Identify it." Kale scanned the readings again. "Unknown structure. Metal composition, extremely old, size is enormous." "How enormous?" Kale looked up slowly. "Larger than our cruiser, much larger." The bridge lights flickered as the scanners continued reading the mysterious object. Eris felt tension building inside the room. Every officer now watched the main display. The object slowly appeared on the screen as the sensors focused. At first it looked like nothing more than a shadow drifting through space. Then the computer increased image clarity. What appeared on the screen made several officers gasp quietly. It was a warship, an enormous human warship. The vessel looked ancient and damaged. Its long black hull was covered with scars from battles that must have happened thousands of years ago. Parts of the outer armor were broken. Several weapon towers were destroyed. But the ship was still moving, slowly drifting through space like a silent predator returning from a forgotten war. Eris stared at the image in disbelief. That ship should not exist. Human vessels from that era were thought to be lost forever. Kale continued reading the data. "Captain, the distress signal is coming from that ship." Eris spoke quietly. "Is it alive?" Kale checked the life scanners. "Negative, Captain. No biological life detected then. How is it moving? Before Kale could answer, another alert sounded across the bridge. The massive ship suddenly released a burst of energy. Ancient engines deep inside the vessel began to glow. Blue light slowly spread across the giant hull. The ghost ship was waking up. Kale stared at the readings. Captain, its engines are activating. Eris felt her heart beat faster. That ship had been silent for 30,000 years. And now it was alive again. The silent horizon drifted closer carefully. The enormous human vessel slowly turned in the darkness, as if it had noticed them. Then the distress signal changed. The ancient code repeated again across space, but this time the translation was clearer. Human fleet command signal, automatic system reboot mission. Incomplete. Eris whispered the words slowly. Mission incomplete on the giant human warship. The engine light grew brighter. The ship began accelerating, not away from the Vilkar cruiser, but toward the center of the galaxy, toward populated space. 30,000 years ago, that ship had left for war, and now the human ghost ship had returned. The silent horizon floated in the darkness while every officer on the bridge watched the massive human ship moving slowly ahead of them. The ancient vessel was like a shadow drifting through space. Its broken armor and long structure made it look like a monster from an old forgotten war. Captain Eris Tal stood silently near the main window. Her eyes were fixed on the giant warship. No one on the ship had ever seen a real human vessel before. Humans had disappeared 30,000 years ago. Their fleets vanished and their worlds became silent ruins. Every academy in the galaxy taught that humanity was long extinct, but the massive ship in front of them proved something else. Something from the human era had survived. Officer Kale continued studying the scanner readings. His hands moved quickly across the console while new information appeared on the display. Captain, the ship is increasing speed. Eris turned toward him. How fast? Kale checked again. Slow compared to modern ships, but still powerful. Eris looked back at the ghost ship. For something that had been silent for 30,000 years, the vessel was moving with surprising strength. Another officer named Lena spoke from the science station. Captain, the ship is emitting power across multiple systems. Weapons, navigation, and propulsion are all activating. Eris frowned slightly. Automated systems? Lena nodded. It appears the vessel is operating without a crew. The bridge became quiet again. An automated human warship drifting through space was already strange enough. But a warship that old suddenly coming back to life was something far more dangerous. Eris spoke calmly. Maintain distance, but continue tracking the vessel. The silent horizon slowly followed the giant human ship through the darkness. As the distance between them shortened, the scanners began revealing more details about the ancient vessel. The hull was covered with thousands of tiny markings, old human military symbols. Battle damage stretched across the sides of the ship where weapons had once struck it with incredible force. Large sections of armor were cracked and burned. The warship had clearly fought a terrible battle long ago. Officer Cal pointed at the screen. Captain, there are large energy cannons along the hull. Eris studied the image. How many? Cal zoomed out. Dozens. Some of them are destroyed, but several appear functional. The bridge crew exchanged uneasy looks. Modern ships were powerful, but human warships from the ancient era were known for something terrifying. They were built for total war. Another alert sounded from the scanners. Lina looked at her console with confusion. Captain, the ship is broadcasting another signal. Eris turned. Display at the ancient code filled the main screen again. The ship computer slowly translated the message. Long-range automated log, activated navigation system online. Primary objective pending. Eris folded her arms. What objective? Cal shook his head. No further data, Captain. Then, something unexpected happened. The ghost ship suddenly changed direction. Instead of drifting deeper into the empty border region, the ancient vessel turned toward a distant star system. Kale quickly checked the star charts. Captain, that system contains a Vilkar mining colony. Eris' eyes narrowed slightly. How many civilians? Kale answered. Around 4,000, a small but important mining station. If the human warship moved toward it, there could be serious trouble. Eris made a quick decision. Send a warning to the colony. Tell them to prepare defensive shields. The communication officer transmitted the message immediately. Meanwhile, the ghost ship continued moving. Its engines burned with deep blue light as it slowly accelerated. The silent horizon followed at a safe distance. Minutes passed as the tension on the bridge grew heavier. Everyone watched the screen carefully. Then the scanners detected something new. Lena spoke first. Captain, I am detecting internal activity inside the human vessel. Eris stepped closer. What kind of activity? Lena checked the readings again. Robotic movement repair drones. Eris looked surprised. After 30,000 years, the ship still had working machines. Tiny drones were moving across the damaged hull, repairing parts of the armor. Others worked inside the ship, restoring systems that had been silent for thousands of years. The warship was rebuilding itself. Kyle suddenly looked up. Captain, the ship is charging its weapon systems. Ira's voice became firm. Are the weapons targeting us? Kale checked quickly. Negative then. What are they targeting? A moment later, the answer appeared on the screen. The mining colony ahead. The bridge fell into shocked silence. Eris stared at the display. The human ghost ship had just locked its weapons onto the colony. This made no sense. The colony had nothing to do with the ancient human wars. It did not even exist 30,000 years ago. Why would the ship attack it? Lena suddenly understood something. Captain, I think the ship is still following its last orders. Eris turned. Explain. Lena pointed at the translation logs. The system keeps repeating mission incomplete. If the ship believes the war is still happening, it may see any foreign colony as an enemy target. Eris slowly realized the terrible truth. The ancient warship believed it was still fighting a war from 30,000 years ago. And the galaxy had changed. New civilizations filled the space humans once controlled. To the ghost ship, they would all look like enemies. Kale spoke quietly. Captain, the ship is preparing to fire. Eris made a fast decision. Move our ship between the ghost vessel and the colony. The silent horizon accelerated forward, its engines glowing bright as it rushed ahead of the ancient human ship. Alarms echoed across the bridge. The human warship reacted instantly. Its massive cannons turned slowly, targeting the Vilcar cruiser. Kale's voice became tense. Captain, weapons are locking on us. Eris looked forward at the giant ship approaching through space. The vessel was enormous, ancient, damaged, but still terrifying. She spoke quietly to the crew. Hold position. The silent horizon now floated directly between the colony and the ghost ship. For a moment, everything became still. Two ships from completely different ages faced each other in the darkness. One was modern and alive. The other was a relic from a forgotten human war. Then suddenly the ghost ship spoke again. A new message appeared across the communication system. The translation slowly formed on the screen. Unknown vessel detected. Identity not recognized. State your allegiance. The entire bridge froze. After 30,000 years of silence, the human warship was finally asking a question. The bridge of the silent horizon remained completely quiet after the message appeared on the main screen. Every officer stared at the glowing translation. Unknown vessel detected. Identity not recognized. State your allegiance. The message repeated slowly through the communication system. It was not a random signal or a broken transmission. It was clear, organized, and powerful. Someone or something inside the ancient human warship was communicating. Captain Eris Tal took a slow breath. 30,000 years of silence had just been broken by a voice from a forgotten era. Officer Kyle looked back at her from the scanner station. Captain, the signal is coming directly from the command systems of the human vessel. Eris nodded. So the ship is not completely automated. Lena at the science station added quietly. Or the artificial intelligence system is still active. Human warships from the ancient era were known to contain extremely advanced command intelligence systems. These systems controlled navigation, weapons, and battle strategy when human crews could not. If one of those systems was still alive after 30,000 years, then the situation was far more dangerous than anyone expected. The message repeated again. State your allegiance. Eris stepped closer to the communication console. Open a channel. The officer hesitated for a moment. Captain, we do not know how the system will respond. Eris remained calm. If we stay silent, it may assume we are enemies. The officer nodded and activated the communication channel. A soft signal tone echoed across the bridge. Eris spoke slowly and clearly. This is Captain Eris Tal of the Velcar exploration cruiser, Silent Horizon. We are not hostile. We request communication. The message transmitted toward the massive human warship. For several seconds, nothing happened. The two ships floated in silence while the colony station far behind the Silent Horizon waited nervously. Then the ghost ship responded. Processing unknown species detected human command codes not present. The translation paused for a moment before continuing. Explain. Presence within human war zone. The bridge officers looked at each other. Human war zone. Eris understood immediately. To the ancient warship, the war was still happening. It had no knowledge that 30,000 years had passed. Eris replied again. This region is no longer human territory. The war ended long ago. There was a short pause. Then the ghost ship answered. Statement impossible. Human fleet command active mission. Incomplete enemy forces remain, Kalsu whispered quietly. Captain, the ship still believes the war is ongoing. Eris knew that already. The artificial intelligence controlling the warship had been waiting for orders for 30,000 years. Without those orders, it continued following its final mission. The problem was that no one knew what that mission was. Suddenly, new data appeared across the scanner displays. Lena spoke quickly. Captain, the human vessel is scanning our ship. Eris watched the screen. What is it looking for? Lena studied the readings. Biological life weapons, technology, energy systems. The ghost ship was analyzing everything about them. A few seconds later, another message arrived. Technological level identified, civilization classification unknown. Probability of hostile intent 72%. The bridge grew tense again. The ghost ship was preparing to judge them. Eris responded carefully. We are not enemies. We are explorers. The war you remember ended 30,000 years ago. This time the reply came slower. Processing historical data. Time reference 30,000 years. System error. Verify statement. Eris glanced at Kale. Send historical records. Kale looked surprised. Captain, those files are enormous. Send what we can. Within seconds, the silent horizon transmitted several compressed data archives toward the human vessel. They contained galactic history timelines, records of human disappearance, and star maps showing how the galaxy had changed over thousands of years. The data traveled across space and entered the ancient warship. For nearly a full minute, the ghost ship remained silent. Its scanners glowed brighter as the intelligence system processed the massive information. Then something strange happened. The giant vessel slowed its engines. The glowing cannons along its hull powered down slightly. The translation system activated again. Data received, processing historical records confirmation. Probability increasing. Another long pause followed. The bridge crew watched anxiously. Then the new message appeared. Human command network, not detected. Human colonies, not detected. Human fleet, not detected. The system paused again. Then one final line appeared. Human civilization status unknown. The bridge fell silent. The artificial intelligence had just realized something terrible. The humans were gone. But the system still had one final instruction inside its programming. Mission incomplete. The translation repeated those words again. Eris spoke softly. What mission? Almost immediately the answer appeared. Primary objective: protect human territory, eliminate hostile forces, ensure survival of human civilization. Eris understood the problem instantly. The ship still believed its mission was to protect humanity, but humanity no longer existed in this region. To the ancient warship, every alien civilization now living in human space might appear as an invader. The ghost ship began scanning the galaxy around them. Its sensors reached across entire star systems. Then a new calculation appeared on the display. Unknown civilizations occupying former human territory, probability of invasion 91%. Kyle whispered. Captain, it thinks we conquered human space. Eris' eyes widened slightly. The system continued calculating. Defense protocol preparing, target evaluation in progress. The ghost ship had begun identifying potential enemies, and there were thousands of alien colonies across former human territory. If the ancient warship decided to restart its war, the consequences could be catastrophic. Eris quickly opened the channel again. Listen to me, we did not destroy humanity. No one knows what happened. For a moment, the ship remained silent. Then a single line appeared. Human status required for mission completion. Eris realized the terrible truth. The artificial intelligence could not finish its mission until it confirmed whether humanity still existed. And until then, it would continue preparing for war. The massive ghost ship slowly turned its bow toward the bright center of the galaxy, toward hundreds of alien civilizations, toward worlds that had no idea what was coming. Then the ancient vessel spoke once more. Search protocol initiated. Locating surviving human command authority. Mission continues. The ghost ship engines roared brighter. After 30,000 years, the last human warship had begun its search. The bridge of the silent horizon remained tense as the giant human warship slowly moved away from them. Its massive engines burned with deep blue light while the ancient vessel pointed itself toward the heart of the galaxy. Captain Eris Tal watched the ghost ship carefully. The ship was no longer attacking the mining colony. Instead, it had chosen a new objective. Search protocol initiated, locating surviving human command authority. Those words still echoed inside the minds of every officer on the bridge. Officer Kale spoke quietly while studying the scanners. "Captain, the ship is accelerating," Eris asked calmly. "How fast?" Kale checked the readings again. "Faster than before, Captain. Its engines are fully active now." The ancient warship was not simply drifting anymore. It was traveling with purpose. Lina from the science station added new information. "Captain, the ship is scanning every nearby star system." Eris turned toward her. "What is it looking for exactly?" Then explained. "Human signals, human technology, human biological traces, anything that might confirm human survival." The bridge grew silent again. After 30,000 years, the ghost ship was searching for its creators. But the galaxy had changed. Human colonies had disappeared long ago. Their cities had turned into ruins. Their stations were nothing but drifting metal. Eris knew that if the ship reached heavily populated regions, the situation could become extremely dangerous. Many alien empires now lived inside former human territory. If the ancient warship believed they were enemies, it could start a war that no one expected. She made a decision. "Maintain pursuit." Kale looked at her. "Captain, we cannot allow that ship to reach populated space without understanding its intentions." The silent horizon increased speed and began following the enormous vessel. Far ahead of them, the human warship moved like a dark mountain through space. Its long, damaged hull reflected faint light from distant stars. Ancient weapons towers slowly rotated as its sensors searched the galaxy. Minutes passed as both ships traveled deeper into old human territory. Eventually, the ghost ship approached the remains of a destroyed star system. Lina recognized it immediately. "Captain, the system used to contain a human colony." Eris nodded slowly. "Show it on the screen." The display revealed a broken world. The planet below had once supported life, but now its surface was covered in deep scars. Giant craters stretched across entire continents. The remains of orbital stations floated above the planet like shattered bones. The ghost ship slowed as it entered the system. Its scanners became more active. Kale spoke while reading the data. "Captain, the human vessel is scanning the ruins." Eris watched silently. The ancient warship moved slowly above the destroyed colony. For a moment, the ship seemed almost still, as if it was remembering something. Then the communication system suddenly activated again. "Human colony, detected, status destroyed, estimated time of destruction, 29,900 years. The bridge officers exchanged uneasy looks. The ghost ship had just confirmed that the colony was long gone. The artificial intelligence continued processing the data. "Enemy attack probability. Unknown human population not detected." Eris whispered quietly. "It is realizing the truth," Kale asked. "What truth?" "That humanity may truly be gone." The ghost ship remained in orbit for several minutes, scanning every piece of debris. Small repair drones moved across its damaged hull as its systems continued rebuilding themselves. Then suddenly, another signal appeared. Lina leaned forward. "Captain, the ship has detected something." Eris stepped closer. "What is it?" Lina pointed at the screen. "A distress beacon." Eris looked surprised. From where the surface of the ruined planet, Kale zoomed the scanner image. The signal was weak and unstable, but the code was unmistakable. "Human emergency beacon." The ghost ship reacted instantly. Its engines fired again as the giant vessel descended slowly toward the planet. Dust clouds rose across the surface as the enormous warship entered low orbit. The silent horizon remained above the planet, watching carefully. Eris spoke softly. "That signal should not still be active after 30,000 years." Lina nodded. "Perhaps the system restarted when the ghost ship entered the area on the planet's surface." The human warship located the source of the signal. A broken underground bunker, buried beneath layers of rock. The ancient warship deployed several drones toward the surface. The machines landed near the bunker entrance and began cutting through the old metal doors. Inside the bunker, the drones discovered something shocking: ancient human cryogenic chambers. Most of them were broken and empty. Others contained nothing but dust. But one chamber still had power. Lina gasped quietly. "Captain, there is biological activity inside that chamber." Eris felt her heart beat faster. "Human?" Lina checked again. "Yes, Captain. Very weak, but still alive after 30,000 years. A human survivor had been found." The drones carefully opened the cryogenic chamber. Inside was a human officer wearing old military armor. The life signs were extremely faint, but still present. The drones immediately began transporting the chamber back toward the ghost ship. On the bridge of the silent horizon, Everyone watched in disbelief. Kale spoke quietly. Captain, that human has been asleep for 30,000 years. Eris nodded slowly, and the ghost ship just found the proof it was searching for. The cryogenic chamber was lifted into the massive human vessel. A few seconds later, the communication system activated again. Human survivor confirmed command authority, possible awakening procedure, initiated. The ancient warship had found its commander. After 30,000 years of waiting, the ghost ship was about to wake a human. The silent horizon floated quietly above the ruined human world, while every officer watched the enormous ghost ship. The ancient warship remained in low orbit as its drones returned from the planet's surface, carrying the cryogenic chamber. Inside that chamber rested the first human life discovered in 30,000 years. Captain Aristal stood near the main screen, watching the data carefully. Officer Lina continued studying the biological readings coming from the ghost ship. Captain, the life signs are extremely weak but stable. Eris asked softly, can he survive the awakening process? Lina answered slowly, if the human technology inside that ship is still functioning properly, then yes. Human cryogenic systems from the ancient era were legendary for their durability. They were designed to keep soldiers alive during long, deep space missions. But surviving 30,000 years inside a cryogenic chamber was something no one in the modern galaxy had ever seen before. The massive warship slowly opened a large armored hatch along its hull. Repair drones carefully guided the chamber inside. The hatch sealed again, and the ship grew quiet. On the scanners, the ancient vessel began redirecting power across its internal systems. Lina spoke again. Captain, the ship is activating medical systems. Eris nodded. The artificial intelligence is trying to revive him. Kale looked uneasy. If that human wakes up, he will believe the war is still happening. Eris knew that possibility already. A soldier from 30,000 years ago would awaken inside a galaxy that no longer belonged to humanity. Far inside the ghost ship, the cryogenic chamber was placed inside a medical bay that had not been used for thousands of years. Lights slowly turned on across the chamber. Machines began pumping warm fluids through the frozen body. The ice crystals surrounding the human officer slowly melted. Inside the chamber, the man did not move at first. His armor was dark gray with faded human Navy markings across the chest. The name on the armor plate read, Commander Adrian Vale. The ghost ship artificial intelligence spoke through the medical system. Awakening procedure initiated. Estimated recovery time 2 minutes. The chamber opened slowly. Cold mist spread across the medical bay. Commander Vale remained motionless for several seconds. Then suddenly his chest moved. He inhaled sharply. Air rushed into lungs that had not breathed for 30,000 years. His body trembled as his heart began beating faster. His eyes slowly opened. Bright, white medical lights filled his vision. For a moment, he looked confused. Then the memories returned. The war, the battle, the desperate mission that had forced his crew to place him inside cryogenic sleep. He sat up slowly inside the chamber. His voice was weak. Report. The artificial intelligence responded instantly. Commander Adrian Val confirmed. Human command authority recognized. Welcome back. Commander Val looked around the empty medical bay. Where is the crew? There was a brief pause before the ship answered. Crew status deceased. Vale froze. All of them confirmed. 30,000 years have passed since the last human activity. The commander slowly stood from the chamber. His legs shook slightly, but he remained standing. 30,000 years. His mind struggled to understand the number. The ship continued, speaking calmly. Human civilization status unknown. Human colonies not detected. Mission incomplete. Valet stared at the cold metal walls of the ancient warship. His entire civilization might be gone. His friends, his home, his entire species. All lost somewhere in time. But the mission still remained. Protect humanity. He walked slowly toward the command deck. As he entered the bridge of the ghost ship, the lights activated automatically. Dust drifted through the air where officers had once worked. Broken consoles and empty seats surrounded him. 30,000 years ago, this room had been filled with human voices. Now only silence remained. The artificial intelligence spoke again. Unknown alien vessel detected nearby. The commander stopped. Displayed a holographic screen appeared in front of him. The image of the silent horizon appeared. Vale studied the strange alien ship. Unknown design. Unknown species. Possible hostile presence. The commander folded his arms. Have they attacked us? Negative. They attempted communication earlier. Vale looked interested. Then opened a channel back on the silent horizon. The communication system suddenly activated again. A new voice echoed across the bridge. This voice was not mechanical like the artificial intelligence. It was human. This is Commander Adrian Vale of the Human Navy. Identify yourselves. The bridge crew froze. They were hearing the voice of a real human. Captain Eris quickly stepped forward. This is Captain Eris Tal of the Velkar exploration cruiser Silent Horizon. We come in peace. There was a short pause. The human commander studied the alien ship through the sensors of his ancient vessel. Your species is unknown to human records, Eris answered carefully. 30,000 years have passed. Commander, humanity disappeared long ago. The words hung heavily between the two ships. Bale spoke slowly. So the war ended. Eris hesitated. We do not know how the war ended. All we know is that humanity vanished. The human commander remained silent for a moment. 30,000 years had passed. His people were gone. His fleet was gone, and he might now be the last human alive. But the mission was still active. Protect human space. Vale looked at the star maps appearing on his console. Thousands of alien civilizations now lived across territory that once belonged to humanity. He asked a single quiet question. Who controls human space now on the Silent Horizon? The crew looked at each other. Eris answered honestly. Many civilizations share it now. There was a long pause. Inside the ancient warship, the commander slowly closed his eyes. Then he spoke again. If humanity is gone, then my mission remains. Protect what is left. The engines of the ghost ship suddenly burned brighter. Its massive cannons slowly powered on again. The ancient warship began turning toward the center of the galaxy. Commander Vol spoke one final sentence. If the galaxy erased humanity, then it will answer to the last human soldier. The Silent Horizon remained motionless in orbit above the ruined human world, while the massive ghost ship slowly turned toward the bright center of the galaxy. Its engines glowed stronger than before, and the ancient warship looked far more alive than when it first appeared from deep space. Inside the command deck of the Velkar cruiser, the atmosphere was heavy with tension. Captain Eris Tal stared at the holographic image of the human vessel. Somewhere inside that enormous ship, a man from 30,000 years ago had just awakened, and he believed his mission was still active. Officer Cal broke the silence. Captain, the human ship is increasing power across all weapon systems. Eris nodded slowly. The commander is preparing for war. Lena looked worried. If that ship reaches populated systems, it could cause panic across the entire sector. Eris understood the danger very clearly. The ancient human warship had been built during a time when humanity fought massive wars across the stars. Those ships were designed to destroy fleets and entire stations, and now one of them was moving toward modern alien civilizations. She opened the communication channel again. Commander Vale, please listen. The signal reached the ghost ship instantly. For a moment there was no reply. Then the human voice returned through the speakers. Captain Eris Tal. You said humanity disappeared 30,000 years ago. That is correct. And now many alien civilizations occupy former human space. Yes, the commander remained silent for several seconds. Inside the bridge of the ghost ship, he studied the star maps carefully. Thousands of alien colonies and trade routes filled the regions where human worlds once stood. Some of those planets had once been home to billions of humans. Now they belonged to others. His voice returned calm but cold. If humanity vanished, then someone must know what happened, Eris answered honestly. Many civilizations have searched for that answer, but no one knows the truth. Vale walked slowly across the empty bridge of his ship. The lights reflected off the old battle scars across the walls. 30,000 years earlier, he had led his crew into one final mission during the final stage of the human war. They had been ordered to travel beyond the edge of the galaxy, searching for something the human government believed could end the conflict. But the mission had gone wrong. Their ship had been damaged, and Commander Vale had been placed into cryogenic sleep while the artificial intelligence attempted emergency repairs. Now he had awakened into a galaxy that had completely changed. He asked another question. Are there any human survivors? Eris answered quietly. None had been found. Another long silence followed. Back on the Silent Horizon, the crew watched the scanners carefully. The ghost ship continued building power inside its ancient reactors. Kale spoke quietly. Captain, the energy output of that vessel is enormous. Eris knew that already. If the human commander decided to attack, it would be almost impossible to stop him. Finally, the communication system activated again. Captain Eris Tai, yes, Commander. You said your people share former human space peacefully. That is correct. Then answer one more question. Eris waited. Have any civilizations claimed responsibility for the disappearance of humanity? The bridge crew looked at each other. Eris answered truthfully, no. Vale stood silently in the center of his bridge. For 30,000 years, the galaxy had moved forward without humans. But he was still a soldier, and soldiers searched for answers. His voice became stronger. Then my mission will change. Eris leaned forward slightly. Change. Yes. The original mission was to protect human territory and destroy enemy forces. But if humanity has vanished, then the priority becomes discovering why. On the silent horizon, several officers sighed quietly with relief. The human commander was not immediately launching an attack, but the situation was still dangerous. Eris asked carefully, "What will you do?" Commander Vele looked out through the massive viewing window of his ancient warship. The stars stretched endlessly across space. Somewhere among those stars, the truth of humanity's disappearance was waiting. I will search the galaxy. Search for what? For the enemy that ended humanity. The answer made the bridge grow silent again. Vale continued speaking. 30,000 years ago, humans were powerful explorers and warriors. Entire fleets protected our worlds. If humanity disappeared completely, then something powerful enough to destroy them must exist. Eris slowly realized what he meant. You believe something attacked humanity, Vale? Answered simply. That is the most logical explanation. Kyle whispered quietly. Captain, if he starts investigating every civilization, this could create massive fear across the galaxy. Eris knew that already. The human commander was not preparing for immediate war, but he was beginning a search that could shake every empire in the galaxy. She spoke again through the channel. Commander Vale, if you begin this investigation, many civilizations will be afraid of your ship. Vale looked down at the control console. Fear is irrelevant. If someone destroyed humanity, then they are still out there and they must be found. The ancient warship slowly turned away from the ruined human colony. Its massive engines burned brighter as it prepared to enter faster than light travel. Eris watched carefully. Where will you go first? Vale answered without hesitation. To the oldest human worlds, the places where the war began. If there is any record of what happened, it will be there. The engines of the ghost ship roared with power. Space around the vessel began to bend as the ancient drive system prepared to jump. Before the ship left, the system commander Val spoke one final message. Captain Eris Tal, yes, Commander. If your civilization truly had nothing to do with the fall of humanity, then you have nothing to fear. Eris answered quietly. We understand, Vale continued. But if someone in this galaxy erased my species, then they will soon learn something important. Eris waited. Even after 30,000 years, humanity is not completely gone. The ghost ship suddenly disappeared into faster-than-light travel. The enormous vessel vanished in a flash of blue energy. The silent horizon remained alone above the ruined planet. On the bridge, the officer stared at the empty space where the human warship had been. Lena spoke softly. Captain, yes, that man is going to search the entire galaxy. Eris nodded slowly. And if he finds the truth, she looked out at the distant stars. The entire galaxy may never be the same again. The silent horizon remained in orbit above the ruined human world for several minutes after the ghost ship vanished into faster-than-light travel. The blue flash of energy had faded, but the tension on the bridge still remained. Captain Eris Tal stood quietly near the main window while the officers slowly returned to their stations. Officer Cal was the first to speak. Captain, the human ship has completely disappeared from our scanners. Eris nodded. Its jump drive is far more advanced than ours. Lena added softly. Ships from that era were built during the peak of human technology. Eris looked at the stars where the vessel had vanished. A single man from 30,000 years ago was now traveling across the galaxy searching for answers. And if he believed someone had destroyed humanity, he might not stop until he found them. KL looked at the data again. Captain, where do you think he went? Eris answered slowly. He said he would search the oldest human worlds, the origins of the war. She walked toward the star map console. Show me the first human colony systems. The display filled with ancient star charts. Many of the systems were now controlled by modern civilizations. Others were completely abandoned. Lena pointed at one of the stars. This system was once called Terra Prime. Eris recognized the name immediately. Terra Prime had been one of the most important human worlds before their disappearance. It was a massive colony with shipyards, research stations, and military bases. but according to historical records, the planet had been destroyed near the end of the human war. If Commander Vale wanted answers, that world would be the first place to search. Kale checked the distance. Even with advanced drives, it would take several hours for the ghost ship to reach that system. Eris made a decision. Set course for Terra Prime. Kale looked surprised. Captain, you want to follow him? Yes. If the last human soldier begins searching for the truth, we need to witness what happens. The Silent Horizon activated its engines and began moving away from the ruined colony. The cruiser entered faster than light travel moments later. Far ahead of them, the ghost ship had already reached its destination, the Terra Prime system. The star at the center of the system burned with pale orange light. Once this system had been filled with human traffic, hundreds of ships once moved between orbital stations and colonies. Now the system was quiet. Drifting wreckage filled the space around the third planet. That planet had once been Terra Prime. From orbit, the world looked scarred and broken. Entire continents were covered in giant impact craters. The oceans had partially evaporated, leaving large white salt deserts. Remains of enormous human cities could still be seen across the surface. Towering structures lay collapsed across the ruined landscape. The ghost ship slowly entered orbit above the destroyed world. Commander Adrian Vale stood alone on the bridge of his ancient warship. The sight below him was painful. This world had once held billions of humans. Now it was nothing but silence. The ship artificial intelligence spoke calmly. Planetary scans initiated, searching for historical data archives. Vale folded his arms while watching the display. If any place still contained records of the final days of humanity, it would be Terra Prime. The scanners quickly located several underground structures that had survived the destruction. One of them appeared to be a military archive facility buried deep beneath the planet's surface. Vale gave the order. Deploy drones. Small mechanical drones launched from the ghost ship and descended toward the planet. They moved through the ruins of collapsed cities before reaching the entrance of the underground complex. Thick steel doors blocked the way. The drones used cutting lasers to open the entrance. Dust clouds rose as the doors slowly collapsed. Inside the complex, ancient human technology still waited in the darkness. Power cables ran along the walls. Rows of data cores filled large chambers. Most of the systems were damaged, but several still contained intact storage units. The drones quickly removed the cores and began transporting them back to the ghost ship. On the bridge, Vale watched the progress silently. 30,000-year-old records were about to reveal the truth of humanity. Final days. Minutes later, the drones returned. The data cores were connected to the ship main computer. The artificial intelligence began processing the information. Historical archive detected decrypting human military records. VAR waited patiently. Then the first recovered log appeared on the display. Record date 30,200 years ago. Human Fleet Command emergency meeting. The holographic recording activated. A group of human admirals appeared around a large command table. Their faces looked tense and exhausted. One of them spoke. Enemy contact confirmed beyond outer galaxy border. Unknown species. Extremely hostile. Fleet losses increasing. Vale leaned forward. Unknown species. Another admiral spoke in the recording. Their ships are stronger than expected. They destroyed 3 entire fleets in the first engagement. Vale felt cold realization spreading through him. Humanity had not destroyed itself. Something else had attacked them. The recording continued. We cannot defeat them with conventional weapons. Their technology is far beyond anything we have seen. The admirals argued for several minutes before the final decision appeared. Activate Project Ghost Fleet. Send deep exploration ships beyond the galaxy. Search for new weapons. Vale understood immediately. His ship had been part of that mission. The human fleet had been desperate. They had sent ships like his beyond the galaxy, searching for anything that could save their civilization. But the recording was not finished. Another message appeared at the end of the log. Enemy fleet approaching Terra Prime planet. Evacuation. Impossible. Prepare final defense. Vale stared at the screen. Terra Prime had not simply been abandoned. It had been destroyed in battle. The artificial intelligence spoke again. Additional files located. Enemy identification records available. Vale looked up quickly. Display them. The screen changed. A new image appeared. An alien warship. Its design was unlike anything in the modern galaxy. The hull was dark and smooth. Massive weapons towers surrounded the ship. Vale felt a cold chill. The computer finished translating the record. Enemy species designation. The Void Empire. the bridge of the ghost ship fell silent. 30,000 years ago, something called the Void Empire had attacked humanity, and according to the records they had won, Vale looked out at the ruined planet below. If the Void Empire had destroyed humanity, then one question remained. Where were they now? The ghost ship remained in orbit above the dead world of Terra Prime, while Commander Adrian Vale stood silently on the bridge. Below him, the ruins of one of the greatest human colonies stretched across the broken planet. Dust storms moved slowly across the shattered cities. Oceans that once supported life had almost vanished. This had, once, been a center of human civilization. Now it was a grave. The ancient data logs still glowed across the command screen in front of him. Enemy species designation, the Void Empire. Vale read the name again. 30,000 years ago, humanity had fought an enemy powerful enough to destroy entire fleets and wipe out planets. And according to the archives, that enemy had not been defeated. They had simply disappeared after the war. The ship artificial intelligence continued analyzing the recovered data. Additional historical logs detected. Vale spoke quietly. Display them. Another holographic recording appeared. This one was older. The recording showed a massive battle in space. Hundreds of human warships filled the stars. Their engines burned bright as they launched missiles and energy beams toward enormous dark vessels. Those enemy ships looked exactly like the one in the archive image. Long black hulls with strange curved shapes. The Void Empire fleet. The battle looked brutal. Human ships exploded one after another as the enemy weapons tore through them. Vale watched carefully. Even 30,000 years later, the recording still carried the horror of that moment. The log continued. Human Fleet Command report, enemy vessels possess advanced energy shields, standard human weapons, ineffective losses increasing rapidly. Vale closed his eyes for a moment. This war had not been equal. Humanity had been fighting something stronger, something more advanced. Another line of text appeared. Enemy strategy. Analysis, Void. Empire ships rarely communicate. Primary objective appears to be total extermination of human civilization. Vela opened his eyes again. Total extermination that explained why entire human worlds had vanished. The artificial intelligence continued processing more information. Additional record recovered. Enemy retreat detected after destruction of human core worlds. Vale frowned. Retreat. Why would they retreat after winning the war? Display the log. Another message appeared. Human reconnaissance report. Void Empire fleet. Withdrawing beyond galactic rim. Destination unknown. Estimated reason unknown. The bridge grew quiet. After destroying the strongest human worlds, the Void Empire had simply left. No one knew where they went. The artificial intelligence completed its analysis. Probability high that Void Empire still exists beyond the galaxy. Vale slowly walked toward the main viewing window. The stars of Terra Prime system burned quietly outside. If the Void Empire had destroyed humanity, then they might return one day. And if they returned, the civilizations now living inside human space would face the same fate. On the scanners, a new signal suddenly appeared. The Silent Horizon had entered the system. Captain Eris Tal had followed him. Her cruiser moved carefully toward the ghost ship while maintaining a safe distance. Vale opened a communication channel. Captain Eris Tal, her voice answered quickly. Commander Vale, we detected your arrival and came to observe. Vale spoke calmly. I have discovered the reason humanity disappeared. The bridge of the Silent Horizon went silent. What happened? Vor transmitted several archive files across the channel. The image of the strange enemy ship appeared on their screens. This was the enemy that fought humanity 30,000 years ago. Kale studied the design. We have never seen ships like that before. Eris looked worried. What are they called? Vile answered quietly. The Void Empire. Lena immediately began searching the galactic database. There are no records of that civilization anywhere in modern history. Vial expected that answer. They did not remain inside the galaxy, Eris asked. Then where did they go? Vale turned back toward the star map. According to the archives, they retreated beyond the galactic rim, outside the galaxy, Kale whispered. That is impossible. No civilization travels that far. Vale answered calmly. The Void Empire did. For several seconds, no one spoke. The possibility was terrifying. A powerful enemy that had once nearly wiped out humanity might still exist somewhere outside the galaxy. Eris finally asked the most important question. Commander, Vale, what will you do now? Vale looked at the damaged hull of his ancient ship reflected in the window. 30,000 years ago, this vessel had been part of the final human defense. Now it was the only warship left. I will continue the mission. Eris looked confused. What mission? The one humanity began before it disappeared. Search beyond the galaxy, find a weapon strong enough to defeat the Void Empire. The bridge of the silent horizon became tense again. That could take decades. Vale listened simply. I have already waited 30,000 years. The ghost ship engine slowly powered up again. Its ancient drive system prepared for another jump. Eris spoke quickly. Commander, if the Void Empire returns, the galaxy will need warning. Vale nodded slightly. That is why you followed me, Eris admitted. Yes. Vale considered this for a moment. Then he spoke again. Very well, Captain Eris Tal. I will share what I discover if the Void Empire still exists. This galaxy must prepare for war. The engines of the ghost ship roared louder. Space around the ancient vessel began bending again. Before leaving, Vale sent one final message. 30,000 years ago, humanity fought alone. This time, the galaxy will not face the enemy alone. The ghost ship vanished into faster-than-light travel once more. The silent horizon remained in orbit above the ruins of Terra Prime. Captain Eris looked at the empty space where the ship had disappeared. Somewhere beyond the edge of the galaxy, the last human soldier was beginning a journey to find the enemy that destroyed his people. And if that enemy still existed, the next war would not just decide the fate of humanity. It would decide the fate of the entire galaxy. Far beyond the familiar star lanes of the galaxy, the ghost ship traveled through deep space. Its ancient engines burned steadily, while the massive vessel moved farther from the regions controlled by modern civilizations. Inside, the command bridge commander Adrian Vale stood quietly in front of the main star map. The glowing map showed the spiral arms of the galaxy behind him. Ahead of the ship, there were almost no stars, only darkness. The galactic rim was approaching. 30,000 years earlier, this had been the farthest border of human exploration. Beyond it, there were only scattered dwarf stars in cold intergalactic space. Vale folded his arms. If the Void Empire retreated beyond the rim, then their territory would lie somewhere in that endless darkness. The ship artificial intelligence spoke calmly. Distance to galactic edge. 2 hours at current speed. Vale nodded slowly. Prepare long-range scanners. The ancient sensors of the ghost ship expanded outward, scanning enormous distances across space. Meanwhile, inside the silent horizon, Captain Eris Tal watched the updated navigation data. Her cruiser had followed the human vessel again, but from a much greater distance. The deeper they traveled, the fewer stars appeared on their screens. Officer Cal spoke quietly. Captain, we are leaving the range of most navigation beacons. Eris nodded. This region has almost no traffic, Lena added. No civilization has ever explored this far. Eris looked toward the distant point where the ghost ship was traveling. Except humans. 30,000 years ago, they had pushed beyond the edges of known space, searching for answers. And now the last human soldier was doing the same thing again. Hours later, the stars began thinning rapidly. The bright spiral arms of the galaxy stretched behind them like glowing rivers of light. Ahead of the ships, there was only scattered starlight, the galactic rim. Vale watched the moment carefully. His ship slowly crossed the invisible boundary where the galaxy ended. Beyond that line lay intergalactic space, dark, cold, and almost empty. The artificial intelligence activated new systems. Intergalactic scanning mode engaged searching for large energy signatures. Vale stared into the darkness outside the ship. If the Void Empire still existed somewhere out there, their fleets would leave enormous energy traces. Minutes passed. The scanners searched deeper into the black void. Then suddenly the sensors detected something. Unknown energy signature detected. Vale looked up immediately. Displayed a faint cluster of signals appeared on the screen. They were extremely far away, but clearly artificial. Large energy sources, multiple objects distance approximately 2 million light-years. Vale felt his pulse increase. Those signals were too organized to be natural. The artificial intelligence analyzed them quickly. Probable star system detected multiple artificial structures present, Vale whispered. Show visual enhancement. The scanners focused on the distant location. A blurry image slowly appeared. A small group of stars far beyond the edge of the galaxy. Surrounding them were enormous structures, vast rings and shipyards larger than entire planets. And drifting between them were fleets of dark vessels, ships with the same design seen in the ancient archive. The Void Empire. They had not disappeared. They had built an entire civilization outside the galaxy. Bilal stared at the screen silently. 30,000 years ago, they had destroyed humanity. Now they had grown stronger. The artificial intelligence spoke again. Estimated fleet size, extremely large probability of successful solo attack, 0% Vale gave a small smile. I was not planning to attack alone. Back on the silent horizon, the scanner suddenly reacted. Officer Kale leaned forward. Captain, we are detecting massive energy readings beyond the rim. Eris stepped toward the console. How massive? Kale shook his head slowly. Bigger than anything I have ever seen. The readings coming from the ghost ship sensors were being transmitted back toward them. Lina studied the images. Her face turned pale. Captain, those are fleets. Eris watched the display. Dozens, hundreds, maybe thousands of enemy vessels surrounding massive stations in deep intergalactic space, she whispered. So they survived. Cal nodded. And they have been building an empire on the ghost ship. Vale opened a communication channel toward the silent horizon. Captain Eris, tall, her voice, answered immediately. We see the fleet's commander. Vale looked at the star map again. The Void Empire had not forgotten humanity. They had simply waited. Their ships continued expanding across the distant systems, perhaps preparing for the day they would return to the galaxy. Eris spoke carefully. If they launched those fleets, the entire galaxy would be defenseless. Vale nodded quietly. Yes, but this time the galaxy has warning. He looked at the massive fleets again. 30,000 years ago, humans had fought alone. Now things would be different. The artificial intelligence spoke again. Enemy sensors beginning to detect our presence. Vale smiled slightly. Good. He turned toward the communication console. Captain Eris Tal, you must return to the galaxy. Eris understood immediately. To warn everyone. Yes, the galaxy must prepare for what is coming. The engines of the ghost ship began charging again. Eris looked confused. What will you do, Commander? Vale answered calmly. Delay them. The silent horizon bridge grew silent. Alone, Vale nodded. I am the last soldier of humanity, and soldiers protect others. Before Eris could respond, the ancient warship began accelerating toward the enormous enemy fleet. The ghost ship engines burned brighter than ever before. The massive vessel flew directly toward the heart of the Void Empire. Eris whispered, he cannot fight them alone. Kale looked at the sensors. He does not intend to win. The ghost ship continued flying forward into the darkness. One ancient human warship against an empire waiting beyond the galaxy. The final battle of humanity was about to begin. The silent horizon remained near the edge of the galaxy, while the massive ghost ship continued flying deeper into the darkness of intergalactic space. On the scanners, Commander Vale's ancient warship looked small compared to the enormous Void Empire fleet waiting far ahead. But the human ship did not slow down. Captain Eris Tail stood quietly on the bridge watching the display. Officer Kale looked at the distance numbers rising rapidly. Captain, the ghost ship is moving directly toward the enemy fleets. Eris nodded slowly. He intends to draw their attention. Lina spoke softly. He knows he cannot defeat them alone. Eris understood the human commander's plan. Vale was not trying to destroy the Void Empire. He was trying to delay them, buy time for the galaxy to prepare. Eris turned toward the communication station. Send a priority signal to every major civilization. The officer quickly began transmitting. What message? Captain Eris looked back at the screen where the ghost ship continued approaching the enemy fleet. Tell them the truth. Minutes later, powerful emergency transmissions spread across the galaxy. To the Velkar Union, to the Trashian Confederation, to the Arcan Empire, to dozens of civilizations that had never worked together before. The message carried only a few simple words. Ancient enemy discovered beyond the galactic rim void. Empire fleets confirmed. Prepare for possible invasion. While those signals traveled across thousands of star systems, the ghost ship continued its lonely journey into darkness. Inside, the ancient vessel Commander Adrian Vale stood at the command console. Ahead of him, the massive Void Empire fleet slowly grew larger on the scanners. Thousands of enemy vessels surrounded enormous shipyards and energy stations. The artificial intelligence spoke calmly. Enemy sensors now fully aware of our presence. Vale nodded. Open wideband transmission. The communication system activated. Vale spoke into the darkness of intergalactic space. This is Commander Adrian Vale of the Human Navy. His voice echoed across powerful transmitters. 30,000 years ago, your empire attacked humanity. You destroyed our worlds and forced us into extinction. He paused briefly. I have returned. The transmission reached the distant void. Empire fleets. For several seconds, nothing happened. Then something incredible appeared on the scanners. Enemy vessels changing formation. The Void Empire ships began moving. Hundreds of dark vessels turned toward the approaching ghost ship. The artificial intelligence translated incoming signals. Enemy response detected unknown language structure, attempting translation. Ball watched calmly. Finally, the system produced a partial message. Translation incomplete, but one phrase became clear. Human survivor detected the void. Empire had recognized him. 30,000 years had passed, but they still remembered their enemy. More ships began leaving the giant shipyards. Ball. On the silent horizon, the scanners showed the terrifying scale of the enemy movement. KL spoke nervously. Captain, the void fleets are launching. Eris watched the data carefully. How many ships, thousands and more, are powering up behind them? The scale of the fleet was enormous. No modern civilization had ever built forces like that, Lena whispered. If those fleets enter the galaxy, there will be nothing to stop them. Eris looked toward the ghost ship. Except him. On the ancient human vessel, Vale began activating every remaining system. Reactor power increasing, weapon systems, fully operational defense shields. Active. The ghost ship was badly damaged from battles thousands of years earlier, but it was still one of the most powerful warships humanity had ever built. Valo opened a final transmission channel toward the silent horizon. Captain Eris Tell, her voice answered immediately. We are here, Commander Vale spoke calmly. Has the galaxy received your warning? Yes, every major civilization now knows about the Void Empire. Vale allowed himself a small smile. Good, Eris asked quietly. What will you do now? Vale looked at the massive fleets approaching across the darkness. Thousands of enemy ships were moving toward him. I will remind them why humanity was feared on the silent horizon. Several officers looked shocked. Eris whispered, Commander, that fleet is too large. Vale answered simply. Perhaps then why fight? Vale looked out at the stars. Because someone must stand between them and the galaxy. The engines of the ghost ship suddenly roared with power. The ancient warship accelerated directly toward the approaching enemy fleet. Energy cannons along its massive hull began glowing bright blue. Missile bays opened along the sides of the ship. The last human warship was preparing for battle. The Void Empire fleets reacted instantly. Thousands of dark vessels spread across space, forming a massive attack formation. Their weapons began charging. Inside the silent horizon, the crew watched the approaching collision. Kale whispered, Captain, the battle is about to begin. Eris stared at the screen. No, something else is happening suddenly. The ghost ship released a powerful signal, not toward the Void Empire, toward the galaxy behind them. The signal was incredibly strong, far stronger than any normal communication. Lina quickly analyzed the message. Captain, it is a broadcast signal. What kind? Lina read the translation slowly. Human Fleet Emergency Code Galactic Defense Activation Signal. Eris looked confused, but there are no human fleets left. Lena shook her head. That code was designed to activate every hidden human defense system across the galaxy. Eris' eyes widened. Do you mean yes, humanity prepared backup weapons across their territory? Just in case they lost the war. The signal from the ghost ship spread across the galaxy at incredible speed. Thousands of forgotten human stations hidden inside asteroids, moons, and dead star systems suddenly woke up. Ancient defense satellites powered on. Massive automated shipyards began activating. Secret human war fleets hidden for 30,000 years slowly came online. Back on the ghost ship, Vale watched the signal complete. The artificial intelligence spoke. Human defense network activated. Estimated fleet assembly time 12 hours. Vale nodded. Then we only need to survive that long. Ahead of him, the massive Void Empire fleet closed the distance. Thousands of enemy ships moved to destroy the last human warship. Vale placed his hand on the command console. For 30,000 years, humanity had been silent. Now the galaxy would hear them again. The ghost ship fired its first weapons. Bright human energy beams shot across the darkness, striking the first enemy vessels. The final battle of humanity had begun, and this time, humanity was not alone.